It's hard to fathom how a single moment can unravel everything you thought was solid, but that's exactly what happened one evening when my wife's attempt at humor became the fracture that shook our marriage to its core. What began as a warm, cheerful gathering at our home spiraled into a night that neither of us will ever erase from memory. Friends were gathered around. Plates of food passed between us, laughter filling the air as stories flowed freely. I was reclining on the sofa, savoring the easy joy of the moment, convinced nothing could disrupt the harmony. But life has a way of twisting the tiniest spark into a raging fire. One of her friends tossed out a light-hearted jab about men and their fragile egos. Nothing unusual, the kind of quip that usually fades into the background with a chuckle. Then my wife, wineglass in hand, decided to escalate the jest. With a sly grin, she leaned back and quipped, "Some guys have every reason to doubt themselves. Not everyone measures up, if you catch my drift." The room stilled for a heartbeat. Her words, pointed and sharp, were aimed squarely at me, her gaze locking onto mine as if to ensure the blow landed. Then she laughed, a sound that cut deeper than her words. Her friends joined in, their laughter tinged with unease, the kind that teeters on the edge of discomfort, but spills out regardless. I sat there, frozen, my thoughts a chaotic whirl. The woman I'd built a life with, the one I trusted implicitly, had just stripped me bare in front of our closest circle. The betrayal felt like the floor collapsing beneath me. For a moment, I considered staying silent, swallowing the hurt to preserve the evening. But a fire ignited within me, refusing to let her words define me. I leaned forward, meeting her gaze with steady resolve, and said in a measured but cutting tone, "Maybe I'm just average, but when you're playing in such a vast arena, any ordinary athlete would seem small." The silence that followed was suffocating, lasting only a split second before the room exploded in laughter. Her friends clutched their stomachs, some hiding their faces to mask their amusement, but the sound was unstoppable. My retort hadn't just deflected her jab. It had turned the entire moment against her. Her smile vanished, her face flushing a deep crimson, not from the wine but from a humiliation so raw it seemed to radiate from her. Tears glistened in her eyes, and before anyone could speak, she fled the room, racing upstairs and slamming the bedroom door behind her. She didn't emerge for the rest of the night. Her friends tried to pivot, tossing out awkward small talk to salvage the mood, but the evening was shattered. I sat there, projecting calm, though my insides churned. Guilt gnawed at me for striking back so fiercely, but another part of me felt it was the only way to make her feel the weight of her words. I refused to be the silent, wounded husband who simply absorbed the blow. The next morning, the house was cloaked in stillness. She hadn't joined me in bed, and I assumed her anger lingered. When she finally descended the stairs, her eyes were puffy, her face drained of color, exhaustion etched into every feature. She sat across from me at the kitchen table, her hands trembling as they cradled her coffee. Silence hung between us until she whispered, "I'm sorry." I waited, needing to know if her words carried genuine remorse, or were merely a bandage for the moment. Her voice broke as she continued, "I didn't realize how vicious that sounded. I thought it was just a joke, but when I saw everyone laugh, I understood how it hit you. And when you turned it back on me, I felt that same sting. It made me see how far I'd gone. I'm ashamed of humiliating you like that." Tears streamed down her cheeks as she looked away, her voice barely audible. "You didn't deserve it." I listened, torn between relief and lingering pain. Her vulnerability was real. She'd finally grasped the depth of the wound she'd inflicted. But the image of her mocking me, her friends' laughter echoing in my ears, was seared into my mind. We spoke for hours that morning. She insisted she hadn't meant to shred my confidence, that it was a thoughtless attempt at humor. I explained that words like hers, especially in public, cut deeper than she could imagine, leaving scars that apologies alone couldn't heal. She nodded, her eyes haunted by the memory of my expression when she'd made her joke. That night reshaped us. It wasn't just about a misplaced jest, it was about the boundaries of respect, about recognizing that the person you love should never be the one to tear you down in front of others. She learned the sting of humiliation firsthand, and I discovered the power of standing up for myself, even if it meant exposing raw truth. Looking back, I don't feel triumph or pride. It wasn't about winning a battle. It was about asserting that respect in a partnership isn't negotiable. It's the foundation. Once it's fractured, no apology can fully mend it. She expressed her regret, tears falling as she vowed never to cross that line again. But the memory lingers for both of us. A quiet scar that neither time nor promises can fully erase. Perhaps that's what it takes. Feeling the pain you've caused to truly comprehend its weight. If there's a lesson in this, it's that a thoughtless quip can carry devastating power. Words, once spoken, can't be reclaimed, and the response they provoke might be far more than you ever anticipated.